And welcome to this week's episode of Lawful and Ordered with Mike Shaw. We have some important form updates to go over with you. You know, this whole situation is very dynamic, and we've had form updates almost every week to the point where we could have a textbook now with all the forms. So thank God we have Mike to go over all of these with us and make sure that we're all staying lawful and ordered. And whenever you're ready, Mike, go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. We have some new forms coming out the week of June 22nd. So I want you to be prepared for them. Let me go over the two new forms for you. Both forms are for your protection. First one's called Property Visit and Open House Advisory. It's going to have 5 different paragraphs, and they're about describing to the buyers when you bring them into a new home that they're going to be looking at, one, that there may be recording devices at that home. So they should be aware and concerned about that and not say things in the house, obviously, that they do not want the seller to hear. Second talks about visitor safety, that if they have booties or things like this, they may be changing their shoes and in socks and maybe on an unsafe flooring, which could be slippery. So they need to be aware and be careful about that. Last, there may be animals or pets at the property. They should be careful about that. There may be allergies or unpredictable behavior of some pets. Next talks about accompanying minors. It says that visitors are advised to watch any accompanying minors. Visitors is responsible for their care, safety, and conduct in the property. In other words, before we weren't quite sure who was responsible if a child damages something in the property, homeowner or the visitor. Now we're making it perfectly clear. The visitors are responsible for their children and the minors. Last is risk of injury. Upon entering any property, visitor acknowledges the risk of injury resulting from infamiliarity with the property. Visitor is advised to exercise caution. Here's the important part. Visitor agrees to assume the risk of entering the property. So once again, these will help protect you and protect the seller. The next one is called Square Footage and Lot Size Disclosure and Advisory. As we all know, this is one of the big bugaboos that realtors face all the time. And a lot of the lawsuits are about the square footage doesn't measure up to what they were told. So right off the bat, this one starts with a paragraph describing there are different sources of square footage measurements. As we know, the MLS has one. The county assessor may have another one. An appraiser doing an appraiser may have a third one. So there are different sources. It explains about that. Next, it also explains about the property size, dimensions, and configurations. People looking at the property may see fences or hedges around the property. That may not be the actual property line. If they're concerned about that, it's warning them they need to get a surveyor to get down the exact measurements. Next is in this form, which is really handy. It has a place where you can put down what the square footage is and where you got this information. For example, it has the public record. So you can put the square footage there and then put down in the vacant space from the county assessor's office. Has a multiple listing service place for square footage. I believe in the future that's going to be automatically populated by the MLS. Has one for the seller, and it also has a place where you can put down where the seller got his information from. Has one for appraisers. So this is great because you can put down what the square footage you got from different sources are and what the sources are. Also has a place to check if there's a report concerning this. And if you have a report, you definitely want to share it. So these are the 2 new ones. There's also 6 new revised forms. These forms are mostly to do with the listing agreements and having to do with MLS. And the reason these are presented now is because of the clear cooperation that MLS has instituted around the state. So it explains what that clear cooperation means and the fact that if the home is publicly marketed, they must list it on the MLS. The last form of those 6 is the septic inspection, well inspection, property monument, and propane allocation. So a propane allocation has been newly added to that form. There's also some new forms for listing agreements. You can look at those on the car when they come out in the week of June 22nd. Stay healthy, everybody.